Out of all the images that I showed on my channel, the hidden images in Watchtower, what I'm about to show today is by far the most disturbing. And it's even worse than anything else I've seen online when it comes to hidden images in Jehovah's Witness literature. So let me give you the accusation first before I show you what I found. The accusation is that on the back of the old songbook, there's said to have been a black person with his penis sticking out, and he's staring at a minor. And the penis, of course, is subliminal. It's not direct, but it's subliminal. And then the accusation says that when this image started to circulate online, then the Watchtower did what they always do, is get rid of the evidence. So then it said that they replaced the black guy and put a white guy there instead and got rid of the subliminal penis. And he's staring directly at a minor. So that's the worst part of it. And when I say minor, I don't mean somebody who's not 18 years old yet and they're using a fake ID to get into clubs. I'm talking about minor as far as 10 years old, elementary school. So that's the worst part of this perverted image. So the question to ask now is this something that apostates made up? Or is this for real? So when I first started to look at the songbook and I started to find people who had the old songbook, every songbook I looked at didn't seem to have anything wrong with it. In fact, there was no black guy in the back of it. So what I was searching for is, was there an older songbook that had this black guy in it, or is that just something that people made up? So I ordered two books that I was fortunate enough to find online, and I'm going to show you now in person with the physical books what I can see with my own eyes. Now, what you might notice is that the one on the left is in Japanese, and that's the one in question. So when I was looking for the old songbook that supposedly had this black guy in it, I couldn't find one in English, but I did find one in Japanese. So I think that when we're looking for some of this old literature, we might be able to find it in another language if we can't find it in English, just as a side note. But as you can see, both of these songbooks are identical, right? Nothing is different on the front cover. And I might have to just turn my camera on and off to get it to focus. Okay. So as you can see, it's exactly the same. Now, if you look in the inside cover, there's angels singing. And on this one, same thing. So nothing appears to be different, except for when we look on the back. Now, I'm not sure if any of the songs inside were changed. That really wasn't that important to me. But as you can see that these books are exactly identical, except for one person. As you see in this one, there's a white guy standing next to this black woman. And on this one, there's a black guy standing next to this woman. So the first thing to ask is, why would Watchtower take just this guy out, right? That's a lot of work to reprint all these books just to take one person out. And it's the back cover. Who's even looking at the back cover? So right away, that's very highly suspicious to get rid of just that one person. That's very, very strange. So here's what's in question. As you can see, next to, or if you look at his songbook, that does not look like an arm. It is shaped like a penis. And if you look at the tip of it, it's got sort of like a mushroom cap type thing going on. See how it gets a little bit wider and then it goes back in. That's very characteristic of a penis. And then if you look at his hand, it's a very weird angle, right? You see, this is not a natural looking picture. In fact, where his fingers are at, it kind of makes it look like if he's touching it, if you know what I mean. I'm going to try not to be too graphic, that he may be doing something. So this is the first problem with this picture. And I just want to say that I have found a total of 9 things wrong with this picture. So I can guarantee you, if you're a little skeptical at this point, if you watch this video to the end, by the time I get through all 11 things wrong with this picture, there's not going to be any doubt that that's a penis. Now, of course, there's going to be Jehovah's Witnesses that are skeptical, and they're going to say, well, it just looks like that by accident. But let's really think about this. So most of us, we've probably been drawing people since kindergarten, right? When we were given a piece of paper, we drew stick figures on it. And through high school, we took art class. We most likely have been many times drawn people. How do you accidentally draw an arm that looks like a penis? I mean, you can go back to the first grade when you were drawing stick figures up into college. An arm looks nothing like a penis. You can't make a mistake like that. And that's talking about regular people like myself and most of you watching this video. Now, as you can see, this is an artist that drew this picture. So if a regular person is not going to draw an arm that looks like a penis by accident, what are the odds that a professional artist is going to somehow make an arm look like a penis? It doesn't happen. An arm looks nothing like a penis. So this is deliberate. This is no way that that was done by accident. And another side point that I'm going to get into later is that, again, this is the only person that Watchtower took off the magazine or off the book, right? Watchtower is not going to go through the trouble of replacing him and putting this guy here if it's just the mind of an apostate, if it's just one or two people with a with a sick imagination. Watchtower is not going to go through that trouble of replacing a person unless they're hiding something. So that's the first point, is that his arm is made to look like a penis. Now, the second point is that if you look at where he's looking, he is the only one that is not looking where he should be looking. Everybody else is either looking slightly up as if they're singing directly to Jehovah, or they're looking slightly down at their songbook. Everybody. Now, I counted a total of 35 people in the songbook. And feel free to check my counting, because I don't know if I missed one or two. So I'm going to show you how everyone in the songbook is either looking at Jehovah or at their songbook. He's kind of looking as if he's looking up to Jehovah. He's looking up to Jehovah. She is, he is, she is, he is. She's looking down at her songbook. He's kind of looking up to Jehovah. She's looking at her songbook. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but every single person is either looking slightly up as they're singing to Jehovah, or they're looking down at their songbook. Everybody. And then if you go in the inside cover, because we're going to cover this thoroughly, the angels are all slightly looking up, singing to Jehovah. They don't have songbooks. And then we go on the back cover. His wife, who that's probably who she is, she's looking up, like if she's looking to Jehovah. The little boy is looking like he's looking up to Jehovah. She's looking down at her songbook. He's looking up to Jehovah. He's looking up to Jehovah. She's looking down at her songbook. She is slightly looking down at her songbook, and I'll get into what I mean by that later when I say slightly. The only one not looking where he should be looking happens to be the same guy that looks like he has a penis. Now, why is he the only one out of 35 people from the front cover, the inside cover, and the back cover that is not looking straight up to Jehovah or down at a songbook? He's looking somewhere else. So that's the second point, is he's the only one in the whole entire book that seems to be looking somewhere else. Now, the third point is not only is he looking somewhere else, he seems to be looking directly at one out of two minors in the whole songbook. So we go to the front cover. Everybody's an adult. There are no children. We go to the inside cover. All the angels are adults. We go to the back cover. She's an adult. She's an adult. He's an adult. He's an adult. She's an adult. So out of 35 people, there's only two minors. What are the odds out of 35 people, but the one guy that looks like he has a penis and the one guy that looks like he's looking somewhere else happens to be looking at only one of two minors out of 35 people? So that's the third point. He happened to be staring directly at her for some reason. Now, the fourth point is the fact that he is the only one that looks like he's excited, right? And passion or something like that. So why does he look like he's excited, like he's in lust and aflame with passion? Right now, look at everyone else's face. They all have a look of praise to Jehovah, either praise to Jehovah or concentration on getting all the words right in the songbook. Right? See how focused she is? She's focused on singing the song correctly. He's focused on singing to Jehovah. He's focused on singing to Jehovah. Right? Either they're focused straight singing to Jehovah, or they're looking down at their songbook to make sure they get the words right. That's the same for the angels in the inside cover and Everyone on the back cover seems to be really into the singing, really focused, right? They're all focused, except, and let me adjust my camera. Everyone is just focused and singing on Jehovah except him. Why does he have this look on his face like he's just excited and lust, right? What's with him? What's with that face? So that's point number 4, that he is the only one that seems to be kind of excited and not focused at all on his songbook. He's not even, he's completely focused and he looks like he's in passion. So not only is he the only one that has a different kind of look on his face. Oh, one more thing I want to mention too about the thing about him looking like he's excited and passion is the eyes give it away. In fact, this artist is really, really good. See, they're not the type of artist that would by accident make an arm look like a penis. This artist is really, really well because look at that detail in the eyes. You see, the eyes give it away. Her eyes say that she's so happy to be singing to Jehovah. His eyes say that he's in lust. He's excited. He's a monster. That's look at that. That's you can see it in his eyes. But she has a weird look too. Now, I'm going to just speculate. If you look at this back cover, this is probably his wife because they're both black and they're standing next to each other. So it looks like they're the same age. That's probably his wife. These two over here are probably a couple, a single, I mean, not single, but a young couple with no kids, probably. And I think this is a family, father and mother, son and daughter. So notice her brother, he's completely focused, right? He's just singing to Jehovah, right? Doing what he's told, singing to Jehovah, right? And look at his eyes, right? He's focused, singing to Jehovah. Look at her eyes, though. Look at her face. You see the difference? The brother is focused. She looks like she's distracted. In fact, she's looking at her songbook, but doesn't it look like her mind is completely somewhere else? It looks like she can sense that this pervert is staring at her, right? That's the look. It almost looked like she has anxiety, like she's singing in a songbook, right? But I mean, look at her face. That's the face of somebody troubled. It's almost like she sees him staring, but she's not paying him any attention. Or she doesn't want him to know. She doesn't want to make contact with him. That's a better way to say it. Like he's staring at her and she's like, it's like she can sense it, but she doesn't want to look at him. Right? So out of 35 people in a front cover, inside cover, back cover, these are the only two that are not focused on singing to Jehovah. You see, she's distracted. She can sense this guy's looking at her. So that's point number 5. Now, point number 6, some of you might have seen the video that I did titled How Watchtower Does Not Want Its Members to Feel Good About Themselves. And it was me and a woman named Samantha. So when I was showing Samantha some of what I'm showing you, she noticed 2 things that I didn't notice. And probably from a woman's standpoint, she just caught on. to something that I completely missed. So when I showed her this picture, she noticed that it appears that her nipple is sticking out. You see, there's an indentation sort of exactly where a nipple would be. Now, I'm sorry, her chest should be as flat as his chest, right? She's 10 years old. Why is that there? And again, keep in mind, this is subliminal, so it's not going to be 100%, right? So at a glance, it just looks like, oh, her shirt just got a couple of wrinkles in it. But that is significant on the exact place you would expect the nipple. And when you see the pattern of everything, you can start to see all these things cannot be a coincidence. They made her and they put a mark there exactly where a nipple would be, as if her nipple is sticking out. And for a little girl, that should not be there. So that's point number 6, that they made a mark right exactly where her nipple should be. Now, point number 7, and this is another thing that Samantha brought out, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't really know, but she said that the fact that she's got a bow tie right there is not a very common design, at least for a little girl, apparently. So she has a bow tie on her private area. So I would like to hear from the women in the audience. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this. But if that's not really that normal, why is there a bow tie on her private? Is that indicating that like she's a virgin? Right? Is that what that is? Kind of like attention right there, and he's looking at her like that, and she's a virgin. Like, why does she got a bow tie on her private part? Along with the spot where her nipple would be, and the fact that he's staring at her, and the fact that she looks extremely uncomfortable, and the fact that he's the only one on the whole book out of 35 people that is looking that way, and he happens to have an arm that looks exactly like a penis. So with all those things in mind, I think that's highly suspicious that there's a bow tie right there. So that's number 6, that she's got a bow tie there. So point number 8, I believe, I might have lost track, is that out of 35 people on the front and back cover, Watchtower only removed the person in question. Right? So let's take a look at this again. As you can see, the front covers are identical. Not one thing has changed. The inside covers, identical. Not one thing has changed. The back cover, nothing has changed except him. So why did Watchtower get rid of just the guy that happens to have a penis? Just him. Now, I hate to say it, but if you are a Jehovah's Witness and you're watching this video, the people that run Watchtower, whether it's the governing body directly or whoever they're working for, because I'm not so sure that they're really running everything, but basically, the people that run Watchtower, the governing body, this is how stupid they think you are. And I'm not saying that to be rude. They think that all of you Jehovah's Witnesses who are serving the governing body are the dumbest people in the world. This is how stupid they think you are. They're so stupid that, or they think that you're so stupid that they can remove just him and not even make an effort to not try to be obvious about it. You see how stupid they think you are? They could have at least maybe got rid of his wife and him, right? Or maybe like 5 people, right? If they got rid of 5 people, then they could say, okay, well, Watchtower, they just they just decided to switch it up a little bit, right? They put new people on the back to switch it up. That's what they should have did if they cared. But this is how stupid they think you guys are who are Jehovah's Witnesses. They think you're so dumb that they don't even have to make an effort to try to be slick about it. They took just him out. So you see the fact that they took the only person in question out, that tells you they're guilty, right? They are guilty. They're not going to remove this image just because of 1 or 2 people's imagination on something. The only way they're going to take this image out is if they know exactly what it is and that it got exposed online and now they're trying to get rid of the evidence, right? Watchtower, they don't even care about their own members. So they don't even make changes based on how their members feel about things. They just tell their members how it is. So they're certainly not going to go through the trouble they're not going to go through all the trouble of reprinting this book and taking out just this one guy because someone like myself is making an accusation online. They're guilty, right? And by removing just him proves it, right? For any witness watching this video, why don't you ask your local elders, why did they take just this guy out and print all these books again? Why? Well, the answer is pretty obvious why. And maybe the reason that they removed just him is because maybe they figured that, well, if they remove just him, they can maybe do it quietly. Like maybe people are less likely going to notice if they change just one person. But the reality is, it would have been better if they basically at least took his wife out, because by removing just him, they're guilty, right? But the thing is, the Watchtower thinks you're so stupid, for those of you who are witnesses, that that's why they did this sloppy. They're so sloppy with this that they don't even care that by removing just him, it proves it, because they think that all you witnesses are dummies anyway. But there's no explanation for this, that they removed just him. So that is point number 8, that they removed just the person in question. So what are the odds out of 35 people on this book, Watchtower just, for some reason, that's the only person that they changed? Now, the next point, and this is going to seem a little strange to bring out, but it is significant, is they replaced him with a white guy. Now, that's just a little bit to add to the last point, because as you can see, they left his wife, right? Clearly, that's his wife, right? That's a family. That's a couple without kids. That's the family, husband and wife. Clearly, that's what they're portraying. So when they take just him out and leave his wife, it makes it even more obvious that they really had to get this guy out of there. Like it makes it so much more clear that there's a problem with this guy. Now, point number 10, and this is where it really gets even more and more obvious, is that the way that they try to replace him, it makes it so obvious that indeed that is a penis. Because you see, when they replaced him with the white guy, what they tried to do is make him blend in the same. So if you notice, he's looking slightly not where he should be, but he's not looking directly at her. He just looks like he's spaced out a little bit. But clearly, he is not looking in the same direction that he's looking. But they made his angle a little bit questionable to probably like try to blend it in. And then they made his hand kind of weird too, like the way his fingers are. His fingers are still coming around kind of weird, like his, but not the same thing, because this is what really gives it away. They made it a point to add a collar, right? So by putting a collar there, you can now see that this is his hand, right? That's like leading up to his thumb, right? So that's his hand, and his hand starts right where the collar is at. So they made it a point to give this guy a collar, to make it a hand, right? So the collar and the hand starts there. There's no collar here. That ain't an arm. That's not a wrist. What is that? It's a penis. It's a penis. And when you see how they replaced it with this and put the collar here, you can clearly see the difference, because now they made it an actual hand. That's a penis. There's no other explanation for that. It's not his arm, it's not his wrist, and no artist is going to draw an arm that looks like a penis by accident, right? That's not going to happen. So now I wanted to show you this directly from the books, right? It's not something apostates made up. It's not something photoshopped. I got both books in front of me, so you can clearly see that this is real. So now I want to show you a couple things online where you can probably get a better picture of this whole thing. So this is a picture online where somebody drew a line just clearly showing that he's staring at the miner. And you can see, as I brought out before, that he's looking directly at her. So you can see the penis. You can't draw an arm by accident. It looks like that much like a penis. And then you can see he's the only one out of 35 people on the front, inside, and back cover that is looking somewhere else. And then he's staring at only one out of two miners out of 35 people. And then you can also see that he's the only one that looks like he's excited and inflamed with passion, right? Everyone else is focused on singing. He looks like he's excited about something. And then you can also see how, when you look clearly at her, she is distracted. Look at her brother, how calm her brother is, and look at her. That's look of anxiety. Like she's trying to sing, she's looking at her songbook, but she can sense that this creep is staring at her. And then you can see also, why is there like a spot exactly where her nipple would be sticking out of her shirt? Exactly in that spot. Her chest should be as flat as her brother's. And then there's the bow tie, right? On her private area. And then there's the fact that for some reason, out of 35 people on the front, inside, and back cover, Watchtower only removed him. Right? So they went through the trouble of printing all new books and replacing just the one person in question. Right? What are the odds of that? And then they replaced them with the white guy, right? Which is significant because you can tell that's supposed to be his wife, and they left his wife there, making it that more obvious that there's a serious problem with just this one person, to the fact that even his wife stayed, but they got rid of him. And then you can see the sleeve, right? They went out of their way to cover this up, and they made sure that the white guy now has a sleeve indicating that that's where his hand starts. And that's the sleeve, and that's his hand. And you look at the black guy where there's no sleeve. What the hell is that? It's a penis. There's no other explanation for it. The way they drew the sleeve in, it shows detail, it shows that Watchtower went through great detail to cover this up. Nobody can say that's a coincidence. What are the odds that they, for some reason, got rid of only him and they make it a point to make a sleeve on a white guy to completely cover that whole thing up? So those are the main points that show that this is definitely, there's too many coincidences for this not to be what it is. But there's one more point, and this is point number 11. And I think this is significant to understand this last point. So point number 11, they chose to do this to a black man. Now, I'm not one that plays the race card. I am black. I've never played the race card. I grew up in a white town where it was mostly white people. So most of my friends were white. I was always really friendly with white people. So I'm never one to play the race card. But it is significant that they did this to a black man. You see, for the newer generation, I'll explain this more for those who didn't grow up in the 80s and the 90s. But I was born in 1979. So I basically grew up mostly in the 80s and the 90s. And back then, there was a thing where TV shows and movies had to put at least one black character in the movie or show so that people wouldn't accuse them of being racist. So back in the 80s and 90s, this was a big thing. If there was a movie or a TV show and it didn't have any black people in it, some black people would freak out, right? They would flip out. And I know I have relatives that were just like that, where so this was a thing back in the 80s and 90s, and it had nothing to do with them being racist, is the fact that if they didn't have black characters in their shows, they would get accused of being racist. But the problem is that when they did this, a lot of times the black characters didn't fit in because they weren't really meant to be in that script. And again, it has nothing to do with racism. It's just they stood out like a sore thumb because the show that their character wasn't really, they didn't need to be there. They were there just because of their race. So this is an example of that in the show Married with Children. Now, Married with Children was basically depicting like trailer park trash. That's what it was depicting, right? Al Bundy would steal food from his neighbor, right? They would have their dog use the bathroom in the neighbor's yard. Like they basically portrayed trailer park trash. That was kind of the theme of it. So it wasn't really like, let's just be honest, like this, it wasn't really a show for black people. I mean, not for black people watching, but for black characters. So they ended up having this black character coming as a main character, and he just didn't fit in. He just didn't fit in. It just didn't fit in. He was there only because he was black. Now, this one is even more obvious. So I used to watch 90210 when I was younger, and I'm black, and I was a fan of the show. But I can tell you that this black character that they tried to add he didn't belong there. He just did not belong there. Right? It had nothing to do with the fact that they were rich, because you might remember the show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where they were a rich family and they were black, right? But it worked. So it has nothing to do with money or anything like that. It's just the fact of, in this time in the 90s, like this guy just didn't fit in. And they tried to add him in, He was in multiple episodes, but he just didn't fit in. The reason why he was there is because they needed to throw the black guy in there so that nobody would accuse them of being racist. And this was a movie, Enter the Dragon, with Bruce Lee. Same idea. They needed to have the one black character. Now, in this movie, he actually played like he fit in the movie, but it's still the fact of you had to have the one black person. Now, you might want to know, like, why am I bringing this out as opposed to what we were talking about? Well, Watchtower is very racist. And again, I'm not trying to play the race card, but the people that run Watchtower are racist. So you see, Watchtower is no exception, right? They have to meet that same quota. So what I propose, and again, I can't say this is a fact because I don't know the minds of these psychopaths running Watchtower, but you see, they have a quota to fill too. So someone might question why are there no black people on the songbook, right? Like, why is it all white people? So Watchtower says, "Oh, okay, we got to put a black person on the cover. Okay, we'll give them a black person on the cover, right? But this is what we're going to do to him. We're going to turn him into a pedophile. We're going to have him staring at a minor, and we're going to have his penis sticking out. And he's an adulteress because he's got a wife too. So he's cheating on his wife. He's a wife cheater and a pedophile and a pervert. That's what we're going to do to the black guy, right? So they put the one black guy on the songbook, but that's what they do with him, right? That's what they do to him. Now, I already know some people who are Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're watching this, you're going to say, oh, no, no. Well, how can you say they're racist, right? Sam Hurd is black. He's on the governing body, right? So how can they be racist when Sam Hurd is on the governing body? The reason why Sam Hurd is on the governing body is because he's black. That's why he's there. So that no one can say they're racist, right? People would start to think, why is Jehovah only anointing white people, right? Why is this whole religion that's the only channel that they say God is using, and it's all white people, right? So you see, they got to have the one black guy in the governing body. That's exactly why Sam Hurd is there, because he's black. And just like all these other pictures that I'm showing you, Sam Hurd stands out like a sore thumb. He's the only governing body member that doesn't really fit in. But you see, they're always matching the same quota, right? They got to put a black person in, but this is what these sick perverts running Watchtower do. They say, okay, we got to put a black person on the cover. Okay, yeah, but this is what we're going to do to them. And another thing too, and again, I don't want to get too graphic with like how I'm saying things, but remember they replaced him with a white guy, right? So what is the reputation that people say about black men, right? They have big, you know what, right? Isn't that the stereotype? Right? So hey, what better person to put on this image than a black person who black people are known to have, you know what? But then as soon as they got rid of the image, then they just replace him with a white guy, right? It's sort of like once they had to get rid of this guy, like once they had to get rid of the penis and make the photo normal, it's almost like they said, okay, well, if we're not going to make a pervert out of him, we have no use for the black guy, so just get rid of him, right? Why couldn't they just replace him with another black guy? Or you know what? Why don't you just get rid of the penis, right? But it's like they just got rid of him altogether and replaced him with a white guy. So you see, like these people are sick. Like it's not a coincidence that out of 35 people on a songbook, they chose to do it to the black person. And again, I'm not playing the race card, but that's what they're doing, right? They did it to the black guy. So after all these things that I've discussed, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this is not something that you should ignore. You can clearly see what's going on. You should be able to ask your elders, why did they take this one person off the songbook? What are the odds with all these other things going on, right? His arm looks like a penis. He's the only one looking where he shouldn't be looking. He's looking out of 35 people, he's looking at one out of only two minors out of 35 people. He's the only one that looks like he's inflamed with passion, right? Like he's excited. She's the only one that looks uncomfortable, like while she's trying to sing her songbook when it looks like she's distracted, like she can sense something is off, right? Her brother looks fine. Then she just happens to have like an indentation right exactly where the nipple would be, as if her nipple is sticking out, right? It just happens to be a dot right there. Then she got a bow tie over her private. Then the watchtower gets rid of just him. Out of 35 people in the songbook, they go and reprint this whole book just to remove just him. Then they replace him with a white guy, but keep his wife there. And then they make the collar on the white guy, making it clear that it's a handout, where once you put that collar there, it shows that they know what they're covering up. So if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you really need to ask your elders or your circuit overseer or right the branch office, and you should be able to ask, why did they remove just this black guy? Now, I know the answer to this question, but for those of you that are still in this religion, that keep trying to justify everything, you need to ask them why they removed just him. And I hate to say this, but I do understand that Jehovah's Witnesses are brainwashed. I was brainwashed also, but there's no way that you could watch this video and not clearly see something is seriously wrong with this organization. So if you watch a video like this and you still justify it and say, oh, the brothers are imperfect, oh, it's the truth, it's still the truth, you're guilty. You're guilty. And when it comes to all this CSA stuff and Australia Royal Commission, this shows that they are promoting CSA abuse. They're promoting this stuff, right? For them to subliminally put this in their literature shows that they're pumping this out on purpose. They want to groom pedophiles. This is what this is, right? They're promoting it. It's not just the fact that Australia had a problem with this. They're creating a problem. You can't have stuff like this and not expect to have a problem. They're putting this out there on purpose. And the thing about subliminal messages is they're meant to affect you, your subconscious, without you realizing it. So they want to push this stuff out there. So again, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you have no excuse. You really need to stop making excuses for this organization. You need to go to your elders and ask them this tough question, period. And if they say you're not allowed to ask, or they're going to disfellowship you, then that should tell you that this organization is not God's organization, but these are sick, disgusting people. And the reason that they have problems with the Australia Royal Commission is because they are promoting this stuff. They want CSA. They like it. They are promoting it. That is the only reason why they're subliminally putting this in their literature.